Hello, Mark Red Larson here for the Dreamcatcher podcast. Thanks for joining me. So today my guests are
Amanda Skiles.
Chris Jacobs.
nice to meet you and great to have you on the Dreamcatcher podcast. So this podcast is going to be a little bit different because these two are thinking about doing a podcast. So it's going to be laid back like pretty much all Dreamcatcher podcasts are, but they're going to ask. They potentially will ask me questions,
Yes.
and we'll just kind of laid back and just go from there. So how long have you wanted to do a podcast?
I think I've been talking about it for like a year. Yeah.
It's been this year at least.
Yeah.
Okay. So what got you to that point of wanting to do one a year ago?
I love our conversations,
Yeah.
and we talk about just really serious stuff and really get to the root of it. And I just feel like we could share that with people.
Sure.
Whether it's about spiritual stuff all the way to kids, relationships.
Right. Oh, yes.
She reels me in a lot. And so I think that, but we're able to be really honest about
We're
everything.
relatable to people.
Yep.
Yes. And that is so important. That's for sure. So how would you choose, or will you do them all? I mean, or
Yes.
okay.
I think I'll probably have notes, and then something will happen on the way to the podcast, and I'll be like, forget this. We have to talk about this right now because this just happened.
That would be very good. So
Yeah.
Podcasting. So how much do you know about it? How much do you not know about it? Or
I love listening to them.
okay.
And I know nothing about the process, so I'm so excited. I think this will help a lot of people.
Okay, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
So what podcast do you have any specific people you like to listen to?
Yes, I like the armchair expert.
Okay.
And the deep end a lot.
It's good.
Yes.
Okay.
Now I'm blanking out on.
I can relate with that too.
Listen to a lot of random and
Yeah.
don't follow them. I think
And that's
we get
true. I
what
do
we
that
get out
too.
of it.
I do that too. So we are in Holdrege, Nebraska, and where are we located? I mean, this is actually Holdrege, but this is your business, or
Yeah.
okay,
My husband
okay. How long have you had this business?
2 years in July.
Okay. So was this a dream?
Not of mine.
Not a dream. That was very quick.
No, it was funny because I said I would never move back. I moved to Lincoln right after graduation. I
Okay.
graduated in 1997. And no way. My sister would find us houses and she'd send it. She'd be like, look. And I'd be like,
Uh-huh.
I'm never moving back. It's not
Okay.
happening. But I listened to God. I prayed about it a lot. Blake's grandparents passed away, like within months of each other, and the house was available.
Uh-huh.
And we decided to move here. He worked here for the man who had just bought it, Mike Thomason. And he was just managing and doing whatever. And then he decided to sell it. And he asked Blake if he wanted to buy it. And here we are. I was not expecting to.
You never know what's going to happen. That's for sure.
We
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I was like we were talking earlier. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
It is.
Oh,
Food is like the hardest business because it's so expensive. Like go
Yes.
to the grocery store these days.
It's
They're
true.
so expensive. You know.
I know the margin's very thin. That's for sure.
So you have to do it just so we are making at least a little bit, but not overcharging. And it's a
It's a
delicate.
fine
It
line.
is.
Yes, especially in central Nebraska where people are. I mean, you go to the cities, they're maybe used to paying more, but
Yes.
here, yeah, I feel for you.
Yes.
So
They let you know.
I mean, that I'm sure too. I'm positive. I mean, so.
But we do care too, so it's hard.
And that's worth a lot too, because they feel that they know this. So okay, I got to ask both of you on the Dreamcatcher podcast. I always ask, what were your dreams growing up?
Well, like we had talked about the other day, I've always liked animals.
Mm-hmm.
Always gravitate to animals in need.
Sure.
Even people in need. I just like to be around
Right.
people and help people
Mm-hmm.
and or pets. So never necessarily a dream for it. Like you put me on the spot the other day, but made me think about it. I'm like, oh, I would like to have like an animal shelter or something, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of people don't remember their dreams from when they were growing up either.
I
So
always wanted to be a vet because I like the animals. Once again, that's
Yeah.
always been.
no,
So
I
I
can see
think I'm
that.
just going to volunteer at the Humane Society, maybe. And
There you
that'll-
go.
That'll get it out of my system a
Yeah.
little bit.
Well, maybe more into your system.
Yeah.
Right. I will bring a pet.
Yeah, there you go.
Like
So what was your dream growing up?
I always said I was going to be a psychiatrist, a therapist, something like that when I was really little. And then I always just said, like on every paper, it's like, what are you going to be when you grow up? I said, to help people. That's all I wanted
Awesome.
to do. in whatever capacity.
I think that is so cool.
Yeah, and that's what I did in Lincoln. It's just work in human services.
Oh, really? Okay. How long were you down in Lincoln?
From 97 until 2 years ago.
Okay, so a while then. So you probably missed Lincoln?
I don't.
You don't really?
I thought
Okay,
I would.
wow,
I
okay.
thought I would.
Okay.
It's weird.
That is interesting, though.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely a different vibe between
Yeah.
Lincoln and Holdrege. I mean,
Yeah.
Holdrege is, I think, a very aggressive. I mean, it's coming up and coming.
It is.
So, but,
Yeah.
so, okay, podcasting. We were talking names. So that can change
Yeah.
daily, and you can
Yeah.
change it daily. So what else would you like to know going forward on a podcast?
Just how you keep it interesting and how you keep it rolling and like not boring, because you don't want to ever.
We have a lot of topics we go over, like a lot of afterthoughts from a conversation the day before.
Mhm.
Is it
Uh-huh.
okay to be not necessarily jumping around, but like
Yeah.
our conversations
It
all
is.
over the
Yeah.
place.
It definitely, that's a nice thing about podcasting. We were talking before we started this that I think everybody should have a podcast because pretty much anymore, it just whatever you want. It is your podcast,
Mhm.
you know, and your vibe attracts your tribe. You'll
Sure.
get the people that are interested in that because, like I was telling you, I did a podcast with a gentleman in Germany this morning, and he just got back from traveling the world. I mean,
Wow.
he has done 100 countries so far, and but then
197 countries.
there are. I said he still has a ways to go. So, but I mean, it's just like inspirational. I love traveling anyway. But then that, and then sometimes it might be kind of like where the dog joined me in Detroit. That guy, actually, he's an Indian and he has this thing in Michigan. And my podcast is all over the place. So, and it just, people kind of, I think, gravitate towards that because they never know what they're going to get. You know, the people that want it the same every time probably wouldn't gravitate towards that, but it's just like, well, you go find someplace else.
Yeah.
Just,
Well,
they will, yes,
Yeah.
they will. So, no, and then on this, after this is recorded, there's actually this Audacity, which is something you can edit if you want to. It's free. And my intro and outro, I got at Fiverr, of all things. And it was very interesting because I was looking around and this lady had a really good rating, and she got back to me like in 5 minutes, had it done, and I was like, "Wow, this is really good." She's like, "Well, it should be." She says, "I did Tony Robbins' intro and outro."
wow.
It's like, "What are you doing on Fiverr?"
Yeah.
She says, "That's where the people are at that need my services," and it's like, okay, so that was very good. And then I do Buzzsprout after that, and that uploads it to like 18 different places,
Okay.
and I have my YouTube channel, but it's very forgiving. You know, the entry point is very reasonable because I mean most people have a computer or you can use it on your phone too. My mic here is Blue Yeti is a very good mic, but very intro priced, you know, not too bad. So it's good for anybody starting a podcast because a lot of times people don't have a lot of money to spend on that. So yeah, it's just, but ideas, I'm on Facebook groups and stuff like that, and just kind of, and I like to talk, so I talk to people out in public, just like we were talking AI the other day, and I was telling you what I thought AI, and I wanted to know people on the street, which I just started. In fact, at Blue Moon over in Hastings, I had the whole place involved, and that's how I get my ideas because one thing, people are very passionate about that topic. But it's just, and you were talking spiritually. I think as a society, people are lost, and I would think you might get what people are looking for,
Yeah.
you know, what they're searching for. And I find people are very lost, especially in this country anyway. And we were talking kids, you know. So you guys would have a lot of topics.
Well, that's what I think. Not to interrupt you. I think that we just found Jesus. Like I just did 4 or 5 years ago. You did that.
Literally like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's
cool.
very new.
Yes.
So we're not the people that have had this for 20 years going,
Yes.
are you saved? Do you have this
Right,
knowledge?
right.
Even some of my own family and friends who had this their entire lives, or it was even new to them, came at me, and it felt so intrusive when those questions and all this. I don't want to be like that. I just want to be like, this is what we found. This is what it feels
Yes.
like to
This
us.
might
This
be
is
able
how
to help
it's-
you.
This
Yes.
is how it's changed.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about it a lot because we do talk about it
Holy.
Yeah, it is, because we find out more and more and more, and we dive in, and there's a whole nother level of, you get to the dark part.
Yeah.
And that's a whole lot of topics that we'll talk about that you need to know.
That people aren't aware of how it's affecting them in
No,
their daily life.
Not at
No,
all.
they really aren't. No, I
Spiritual
mean,
warfare is really thick right now.
Yeah.
it is, and the majority don't realize.
They don't realize that
So-
person's changing personality has not really them.
Right.
And that's
Yes,
sad.
It's very sad.
it is. And like we were talking, media, social, and television, everything shows so much, and people, if you'd have done this 20, 30 years ago, people probably would have had an outcry. Some of the stuff you see on TV.
Mhm.
Oh goodness.
And it's just like, why? I mean, it's just like, well, that's what it is. It's like, that doesn't mean it has to be what it is. And so you guys have would you have a meeting here, or what would you think when you?
Yeah.
Probably right here.
So,
This is our round table.
Yeah.
yeah, I like that round table.
And then we want to start having groups, like not
Awesome.
for a podcast, but like, so we would have our podcast, but also like on a certain night, we would have a group of people just to talk about it and get together and like that type of thing. We've been wanting to do that forever too.
Yeah.
But it hasn't happened because it's in God's time. It's not in our time.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
That's why I feel like I have the green light on this now, and I've been praying about it. And he's like, yeah, and then I met you, which is just insane.
That was my day off.
Uh-huh.
There you are, and then you
Uh-huh.
start talking to me. I'm
And I
like,
was just telling you that we have the green light. Like I feel it. I've been
and I'm
praying
like,
about
hey,
this.
about
Guess
that.
what? This Mark, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just crazy.
And it was because we've gone by many times here, and then just God told me to come to Holdrege, and then it's just like, let's just stop here.
Yeah.
And God works in mysterious ways, but it's so awesome.
So awesome.
So I mean, and that passion you project, and again, you will attract those people that are ready to hear
Yeah,
it.
right.
But there will be people, and that can be disheartening,
Oh, for sure.
sometimes too. But I love you guys. I can tell your energy. So your vibe is definitely so. So what else would you like to do with the podcast? Is there anything else you would like to?
I was curious where you upload things to besides YouTube. Like you do Spotify. Is there anywhere else?
Spotify, Apple Music. 18 different places like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In addition to my YouTube channel.
Where do you
So,
get the most traffic?
Apple Music's the one I'm getting the most.
Really?
Yeah,
Nice.
and then Spotify. So, but the one that is number one is my YouTube channel, which is weird because it's like, okay, most people, they're probably still listening to it, but they have where they can watch it too.
Yeah.
And I've had one episode where it went 9,500 views.
Wow.
And YouTube sent this thing, and it's like, this got to be a mistake. But it's just like, it's very interesting, the amount of people that are on YouTube. And people go to YouTube for just about everything anymore.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it gets everywhere. And that's one thing with Buzzsprout. That Buzzsprout is very good. And that's like $24 a month. But they have a whole list of things where you can put it. They don't do it automatically. You choose which ones you want.
Okay.
And then some you submit, and you're immediately ready to be on there, wherever their podcast. It lists your podcast. Like iHeartRadio. A lot of them you have to apply.
Yeah.
And usually it's not very long. And when I did it, it was like a day or two for most of them. So, but after that, and then they give you the stats. Apple Music gives you, just like the people that are on the podcast. It's actually very interesting, the age group. It's 18 to 25, and then it's like 45 to 65. And almost equal, more women than men. But it's just like kids or young adults trying to figure out what they want to do, and they don't really want to do the traditional. And then on the other end, it's people that haven't had enough money to save for retirement, and their retirement is to work until they die. So they're looking for another, way out too. And I always say on this, you can do anything. You have to believe, but everything's possible. And I think when you believe, God provides the people, resources,
Yeah.
and it's just like, because it's like, that was you. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So,
then what people have to understand too, though, just because you want it, it's not going to come.
No.
Because like it has to be in God. Otherwise,
It
it was
does.
a year ago, right?
yes.
But I've been waiting and for all of this for certain things, and there's other things haven't happened yet. And I have a son with he has autism,
Okay.
and he's going to be 8 in February, and he is improving like so much bit by bit
Cool.
by bit by bit, and it's so cool. But talk about not being, I've never been angry at God. I've never said why this is so hard. I just have never had that kind of attitude. I just know in God's time it's going to get better.
Yes.
And just like this podcast. So you can hope something or, but just because it doesn't answer, that's just not the plan. Jan, it's just not.
And it is true, because sometimes he has to build you or have you go through things that will enable you to become the person that will have a podcast or whatever he's doing. So, because sometimes he doesn't want to put you in a situation which you're not ready for. And I know that too.
Yeah.
Very, very much. There's been some trials and tribulations with my wife and I, because since her cancer in 2015, 2016, she had advanced colon cancer. And that was the beginning of the roller coaster. But I look back and I'm not, because she lived, and because it was everywhere except for lungs. And but it really got us to start traveling, because one thing, if you survive something like that, it gives clarity, because you know what's important and what's not important. But it got us, because she had such intense chemo that we started doing many trips, got us traveling, because we were always doing those some days.
Yes.
And in fact, we went to Kansas a lot, and everybody's like, why'd you go to Kansas? It's like, every place has got something cool.
Yeah.
So, but it did that, and then it got me, because even with the Affordable Care Act, it was a lot of money. It was a tremendous amount of money. So we were looking for other ways to bring in money. And that got me to actually doing this. We started our stores and we started all this stuff, and which was not right. It just didn't feel right. But this actually, and I started getting coaches. I've had 3 coaches over the years. And in fact, the one, Crystal from California, is the one that had a podcast. And she's like, I think you'd be really, really good at that.
Yeah.
And I thought, really? I just thought, no. And I was one when I was younger. I was really quiet. Actually, I won an award for being so quiet at school. Yeah, I did. Yeah,
you were
I did.
A good kid.
Yeah, I guess I was. I didn't do anything. I was basically, it's a good thing we didn't have my phone and stuff, because I'd have been on that all the time.
Yeah.
So, but you just never know the path. And it isn't God's timing, because it's like, well, that was so much better when you took me all out and went that route. And now I know all this, and I met all these people that can actually go out and spread the word more. So
and to have that empathy.
Yes,
when bad things happen, how can I help or talk to people about this topic or this topic? Like, if I've been through this and I've been through this and I've been through this, it's like I've been there. So not only do I have empathy and I can talk to them about it, but I'm like on a different level of understanding. And I think God gives you that.
I think so too. Yes, very much.
Yep. Who are going through that.
And she does. She has people come to her that, I mean, it's just amazing how much cancer is around. But and the weird thing, when Cheryl started her cancer treatments over in Kearney, there was this gal, and she had exactly the same cancer at the same stage. And they met, of course, that day, because they were supposed to. And she took care. I called her an angel, because she took care of me too. I'm probably going to cry here, because she didn't live. She basically got Cheryl through her chemo, and then I have collected vintage Christmas for a long time, and she's like, my family won't appreciate this, so she says, I'm going to give it to you. Oh. And it's like, you really are an angel. I mean, she was so sweet, and she was very mothering, she just one of the kindest people I've ever met. And it's just like Cheryl feels guilty, because she's like, she didn't make it and you did. And I said, you still have things to do.
That's right.
So which she still struggles with that, but yeah, I think, and then a lot of times with that, I still do, you need to sometimes just surrender and see what God's going to do. And easier said than done.
It is.
By far.
But it's just like, just think how many people, and I've even tried to get Cheryl to do her own podcast with that. People going through, wouldn't even have to be just cancer.
Right.
And, but yeah, it's just, I smile. I just love it, because I mean, God, it's so great. I mean, it's just, and everybody, and I talk to God just about daily, just about. And I tell Cheryl, because she doesn't hear him, she really prays and she hears him. And I said, maybe you're trying too hard. But he, the day he told me to go to Goodwill, the day he told me to come over here last weekend, but he's really, I find him very ornery. He's only gotten, one time where I did something and he's like, no, I told you not to do that. But he was like a caring father.
Yeah. And
it's just like, people are like, are you crazy? It's like, no. And I said, he doesn't talk to me like this, but he gives me direction. Sometimes he dresses me. It's like, you need to wear this and this today. It's like, okay, I can do that. That makes it easy.
Yes.
And I just, it's so wonderful. It is so wonderful. I mean, it's peaceful. That's just, I don't worry about all the stuff that can go on in life. Cheryl worries about her cancer will come back because she has to be tested almost every year because the polyps come back. And it's just like, just let God have it. Give him what you're worrying about, give it to him. Because I tell her that we have some arguments over this, but that worry usually is the other side, and it's just like, give it to God and just, so, but
Absolutely.
so I just, that's one thing. And I had a lady the other day because I was going through people that were going to be on the podcast, and she's like, your podcast has really turned into, spiritual and stuff. And it's like, it really didn't start out that way, but in the last year and a half, I have. And it's like, I said, probably if you think that, we're not a good fit. And I said, so, but it's just like, he's been gradually sending me people that are that way. And it's just like, I mean, it does sound, old me would have thought that I was crazy.
Old us too. We say that all the time. Her a year and a half ago when she was just saying that.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
They always said, I'm spiritual. I don't even know what I was. It was all the new age stuff that I now look at and go, yeah, I don't want to play with that.
Yeah. And that was another thing. When I started this podcast, God's like, people aren't getting my word in church. A lot of people don't go to church anymore. And he's like, I want to use your podcast to get to more people. Yes. And he says, I want you to be on the world stage. And I have been approached to be regular speaker, but God doesn't want me to do that particularly. He wants me to do this.
Yes.
And sends me to more things with podcasting. And it's just like, okay, I think this is cool. I mean, it's just like, any way I can get the word out in any word, anything that is inspirational, motivational, to get people knowing that, because if you watch the news or anything like that, it's so depressing and so negative. And there are awesome people out there. Yeah, it's just like they're out there and they're not being put on TV. They're not put in media. We very rarely get a news story that's good. And that's one thing with the podcast. You get to choose. So
very true.
Now I just did my spiel. So do you have any other questions on podcasting? I get very passionate about this. It's just like, I want to, like I said, I want everybody to have a podcast so they can put out their calling. So.
Well, we won't get into it. I don't even know if we will on ours, but we have with spiritual warfare.
Okay, really?
Actual,
really?
Visual, actual happening.
Wow.
Yes. And we were already faithful, right? But it made us.
Deepened that. It took it to another level.
Sure, I can understand that.
Yeah, and it was,
I don't know how you describe that.
I can kind of understand what you're saying. Yeah. So, and
it was made for movie.
It was. It's what they're made about.
Don't see that side of it generally. I mean, there's that side, and then there's this other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it, I don't know.
It causes PTSD.
I can understand that. Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden, I was still here, but the veil was lifted, and I could see demons. I could see the dark. I could see everything, and it was just like present. But it only lasted consistently for like
a week straight.
Yeah.
So you kind of were having an awakening then. Yeah. So okay.
But we knew that God. There's so much scripture that He puts you through that, and you have to rely on Him the entire time.
Yes.
And she had to keep reminding me that Jesus is still there. He's still there.
Yep.
And she's my rock the entire time. Cool. But it was, we know all the truth.
Yeah.
It's not like a faith. I mean, we have faith.
Yeah.
Because, obviously I have not seen God or Jesus, but I've seen the dark. And so, you know.
And been divinely protected.
I was the entire time.
Yes. Yeah. And He does protect you. So, because there is. And I think the closer you get to awakening completely, that the more that evil, whatever you want to call it, tries to put blocks in your path.
Well, Taylor always says
So,
that they only do huge attacks like that if you are important, you're doing something,
mhm.
and you're going
If
to
you got a
talk.
message.
Yes.
Strong. My kid is so spiritual. He's 7, but he already prays like so. He has autism, but he prays so beautifully, and he's so connected. So, like, of course, we would be someone that they would want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I mean, it's been even on Evil has played on with when I do this because I did one from a lady from Sweden and it said it was recording all right. Well, when I got back, the audio was like somebody cut it up and put it back
The whole
together.
time.
Yes. So we did it 4 times, but we finally got Stella's message out, and it's just like, wow, didn't really want Stella Scott was her name, and didn't want that message out.
I love that you didn't give up.
So I mean, no, we don't. No,
Whole time.
no,
That is amazing.
I don't give up. That just makes me more dig in.
Stella,
So,
let's roll it
yeah.
in.
One more
Yeah,
time.
let's do it.
And she was I mean, first time I met her, it's like, whoa, I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of you.
Yeah.
I mean, she is, and interesting is she's also a citizen of the United States. And she's like, she wants to do a podcast coming up, another one, where she says, I want to tell you what your government's really like.
Oh,
And I said, I don't know how I'm going to spin that with Dreamcatcher, but I said, we got to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I want to hear that one.
But it's just, it's the people have been, there's only been a couple. One of the very first ones which I started vetting before I had to guess because he was an author. And I thought, hey, that sounded good. Well, he was a Nazi. And it's like, so people like you are still out there? I mean, he was a lot of hate. And it's just like, nope, we have to make sure that they're not trying to, get somebody in that would not be a good fit. But no, and he'll, like on the transcript, which I blame AI, but sometimes I think it's not because some of the words are really bad. It's like, I don't know how you even got that word in there.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So,
not sure.
yeah, so it's just like you got to be kind of aware, that's for sure. So, but no, it's worth it. It's always worth it because somebody's like, well, he's trying to get you to stop. It's like I said, I'm not stopping.
Oh.
It just makes me that more strong.
Yes.
So,
Oh, I love that.
it's just like God put this in my path for a reason, and it's just like not stopping. So, it may get difficult some days, and oh my gosh, and that one week he was really trying me. Oh my gosh, it was just like, nope, not giving up.
No.
And I did one, we did another one, and they all happened to be in Europe. And we did one at 4 o'clock in the morning because it worked out. And at least 4 o'clock, I don't know, maybe Evil was sleeping. I don't know what it was. It let it go through. So, but no. And maybe that's why I haven't done a live. Maybe because it keeps telling me that I'm doing lives. And on YouTube and Facebook, it never has
So
come up
weird.
as live. So when you're starting your podcast,
Hopefully, I'm going to buy the equipment. I just didn't know what to get. I was going to
Okay.
pick your brain about that too because Amazon and Walmart are having sales now, so I'm going to get it like tomorrow.
yeah, no, I mean, it's really low entry point. I mean, would you have like a laptop?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're good to go. You could be set up on all the software very quickly. Yeah, it doesn't really take much. It's very, very low entry point. And I suppose that's about all the equipment with this. And do you have a Mac or do you have a Win?
I have a Mac that isn't working right now. It has a question mark for some reason, and I don't
Okay.
know. So I've been trying to fix it, but then I have like a Chromebook.
Okay.
That we just kind of, yeah, I fixed it. Yes.
Very nice.
I washed it or what?
Completely
Yeah.
swiped it.
Okay. So you guys are ready. I mean, if you
Can
get
you
it.
do it with a Chromebook?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Let's just use that.
Yeah, you can do either way. That's fine. So, but no, this, and then I have this just because they don't put any ports on there, for Mac, which as much as they cost should.
I agree.
And but no, get the software. You probably Audacity just there, and you just put it up there, and it's. I can show you when we do this. I can show you how that works. But that is, and then from there you just do it to Buzzsprout or whatever you want, because there's other ones that do that too. So do you want to do you like Apple Music or Spotify or all the above or?
Yeah, what do you think?
Probably.
Let's see where our people are.
So then start promoting. Will you do lives and stuff on like Facebook? Do you do Facebook lives and stuff like
Well,
that?
I do Facebook a lot, just like with my stuff, but I wouldn't be a great dude. Probably a good idea.
Yeah, just doing different things like that, just to get people to know, and just and then reach out to maybe be on other people's podcasts
Mhm.
because I have found that is really good because you get all another group of people,
Okay.
and which is been pretty awesome. I've had really good people that I've been on their podcast, and
Well, when we get to that point and we have it all figured out, we'll invite you on.
okay, awesome. I would be honored. I would be very honored. So, no, I look forward to that.
Yeah.
So, we'll continue this
We
conversation.
will.
So, is there anything else before we end the podcast that you need to ask or would like to ask?
I can't think of
I don't
anything.
think
I think
so.
we've covered it all, and I want to write some of those names down of the apps and stuff you were
Okay,
talking about.
okay.
and-
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. So, well, this has been awesome.
Yes.
I look forward to our next conversation. I look forward to the day you drop your first podcast episode. Yeah, I need, let me know before.
I
So
will.
I would definitely, yes, honored. So, but on that, we will end this episode of the Dreamcatcher podcast. Thank you for joining
Thank
me,
you.
and
Thank you.
and take care.